So experimenting and being able to experiment with different ideas quickly is kind of key to this technique working, and it's a great hack for saving some time. If you're sketching ideas and you're sketching up full logos, a version at a time, that can be quite time consuming. So if you dive in to Illustrator or your preferred piece of software, and what we're looking at in this lesson is looking for easy wins, for quick pairings that work, and kind of trying to identify quickly what may and may not work in the case of our logo. So this is an abbreviated process. If you're actually designing a new logo from scratch, you'd be looking at when you come to choose your serif font as your base, kind of what does it convey, what messaging does it have. So we're kind of ignoring all of that, and we're just going to dive into when you found some fonts you're happy with, how can you look to pair those with these script ligatures. That's what we're looking to do in this lesson. So in the exploration process, I would start by taking a look at the spacing and see if you can identify letters that kind of naturally feel like they could flow together. So as I look at this, I think the K here, that looks like a great candidate. If I bring the spacing down, that kind of looks like it could flow really nicely into the I here. We have to take care it doesn't end up looking like a weird N or maybe a H. So again, you've always got to be weighing up the kind of legibility issues. So what you could do is keep the spacing as it was, but, and I'm just going to roughly draw this with a brush, look to elongate that leg of the K, and that would kind of give you the desired effect without spoiling the spacing and the kerning. And as I look across, here are another few examples. So I tightened this one up already, and that L could run nicely into the A in turn could run into the S, and perhaps even the S, if something were added down here, perhaps that S could run into the other S, although I think that would need to be tidied up carefully. That starts to potentially look a bit clumsy. But that's the first thing I would explore. So with your chosen brand name, try that out, type it out in a font, a serif font that you like, and then start playing with the spacing and look for opportunities where the character is kind of almost trying to flow into the next one, and see what opportunities you have to maybe create some links and some joins. So that's the first step to explore. Then we want to come across, and again with your brand name typed out, now we want to look for opportunities to swap either swooshes, and this here's a swoosh. It's not joining to another character at the moment, but it's kind of a beautified element that's been added to this piece of type, and you often see it used in calligraphy. So we're looking for opportunities to either add one of those swooshes or ligatures, and ligatures are basically elements used for joining. So if I type out, usually in lowercase, my logo name, and I'll pick a script style font, see if I can find a good one, and then I'll need to change the spacing to 0. You'll see examples of ligatures. So from the K to the I, from the I to the N, from the N to the G. So we're trying to use that concept, but with uppercase type and serif characters rather than script characters. So we're kind of pairing two techniques together to create something that's unique. So these are the kind of opportunities we're looking for. And sometimes, like for example, the lowercase g is really different to the uppercase, as is the N. So, you know, that's maybe not a great opportunity there because they're so different. But in other cases, the K, that's very similar to the leg of the uppercase K that we have here. So sometimes looking at a few examples in lowercase script can kind of point you in the right direction. It can give you some ideas you could then use on your uppercase font. So I'd recommend doing that. Type out your brand name in at least a few script fonts, and then type out just individual letters using an uppercase version of a character. So for example, if I type out the O, the K. And there are certain fonts that come with kind of a rich range of swooshes and ligatures and decorative elements. So using just these individual kind of uppercase characters in a font, it's going to include some of those swooshes and ligatures. We're kind of looking for opportunities to maybe pair elements together. So the L straight away, that's quite nice. Perhaps there's something we could do there without much customization, actually. And you won't go in and fine tune and try to merge those two fonts together just yet. Just leave one portion overlapping the other and then move on and look for other opportunities. So in this brand I was working on, I'll kind of show you the, I guess, before and after. You can see this was the base logo type written out in this font, and I've kind of decided to join the R to the A to the B, and then we've got these two nested L's, which looks quite nice. So these are the kind of ideas we're looking for. Here's the brand name for the orchid, just typed out in that base font. And then again, you can see I've typed out, so the R, I was looking for ways to join that to the C. A few different script style typefaces. And again, we're just looking for opportunities to pair these together. So if you have them a similar size, you can literally superimpose one on top of the other and try and get a sense for what might work. And I think this was the version here that I thought had some potential. So I really liked that idea, and this is how I would kind of leave that as a concept and then move on to explore more. So we're just trying to quickly give ourselves some ideas, some options to pick from at this stage, and ultimately that's going to be the result. That's what I aim for. I break, and I'll show you how to do this in a future lesson. I break this character apart, and we're using just the portion we want, and then we're swapping it in for a portion of the existing character, so creating something new as a result. So in your case, with your class project, do that for your chosen brand name. Look for opportunities to pair characters together, to add swooshes, to add ligatures. Throw all those kind of ideas down on artboards, and when you found one you'd like to explore, leave it and move on to find another. And when you feel you've got a few to work with, join me in the next lesson where we'll take a closer look at making ligatures join naturally.